Rudy Giuliani, and this is America's Mayor
live
live
from
from Palm Beach,
Florida,
Florida,
and
and covering
the election tonight.
uh,
There are only a few, but they are quite significant. Going to tell us a lot about, I think, the future direction of politics going into the off-year elections, uh, and um, and some very, very startling situations. I guess the most being the presence, for the first time that I can think of a not only a communist but a sympathizer with Islamic extremism as the candidate in the city that was attacked the worst in America by Islamic extremists. Very, very strange that he has even, I mean, he's the leading candidate. He's under 50%, but he's leading Cuomo in the polling. Again, I emphasize in the polling, and polling in New York has been extraordinarily inaccurate.
Can you please check the audio? I'm concerned there's a problem.
I never had an election in New York. It came out like the polls.
Even close.
Text me.
But if you look at the polls,
Mondani is leading in the last poll
by about 4 to 6%, depending on the poll, over Cuomo. So Mondani is around 41, 42. Cuomo is around 37, and Stewart varies between 15
and 20.
With about, depending again on the poll, with about 7% undecided. The turnout in New York has been extraordinary. There have already been 750,000 people who voted early. In the last election for mayor, only about
950,000 voted altogether.
So you already
have
almost
as many people voting
early as you had total last
election.
What's
What's going to do to the vote? It's anybody's guess.
Because at the very beginning of the early voting, it was a tremendously heavy turnout of people
50 and over.
So you would assume
those would be anti-Mondani
votes because
people against them, and they would be the people
probably would be the most shocked by having this communist Islamic terrorism sympathizer on the ballot. But in the last couple of days of the early voting, it turns out that the turnout was largely under 50 and more in the, and under 40, more in the area of where Mondani is getting his vote with younger people. And they ended up, the under 50s ended up being almost 50%. Well, that means the over 50s were 50%. If the under 50s were 50%, because you got to be one or the other, right? And therefore, you could very well have,
the whole thing in the undecided voters.
You could have it almost all tied.
Close. Right.
Real close.
Well, Mayor, we have our first call of the night. Breaking news: this in the Commonwealth of Virginia, major networks are polling it for Abigail Spanberger, a Democrat,
currently up 10 points with 39% reporting. They are calling this race for Abigail Spanberger. In the Attorney's General race, Jay Jones, Democrat, maintains a 1.6% lead. That's about 20,000 votes with 38% reporting. So depending where those votes come in, that, obviously mayors would love to have a couple more points right now, but that's a good sign for him, I would think, right? Being that much closer.
Can we put that up?
Than Spanberger versus Sears. So we'll get that up here for you on the big screen.
So that election is about 1 point, 2 points.
Right.
Separating.
That's exactly what the polls were.
Right.
49, 47.
Right.
There it is. Okay. Virginia Attorney General's race, 50.6. So he's got, so Jones, the guy who fantasizes about murdering his opponents, is up by 1.6%. I mean, that's a lot better than the 10% that he was up before. Hard to understand how 50.6% of Virginians would want to vote for a guy who wants to see his opponent murdered.
Right.
It is strange, but a lot of things are strange, like having a communist on the ticket in New York.
That's right. And of course, polls have just closed in
The
state of
the polls have just closed in the state of New Jersey, where Jack Ciattarelli has closed the gap in the final weeks against Democrat Mikey Sherrill. I believe it's Mikey Sherrill. I'm saying Mickey Sherrill.
I believe it's Mikey Sherrill.
And so that those polls have just closed. That in New Jersey.
There's another one that's really strange that Jack would have a hard time with that. There's a member. She's a member of Congress who has been lying about her record at the Naval Academy all these years. She didn't graduate with a class. She didn't graduate with a class because she was involved in some way, we don't know how, in the cheating scandal. Her involvement resulted in her not graduating with a class and being held back for 3/4 of a year. Now, she has told various false stories about that. In one false
story,
she claimed that
she graduated with a class because she wouldn't write on her
classmate. In another story,
she said she told them the complete and absolute truth. It means she was ratted on her classmates.
in any event,
People in her class say that both of those sound wrong.
it sounds like she was involved in and found guilty of cheating. Otherwise, they wouldn't have held her back for almost an entire year. Now, she has refused
to disclose her records.
I do not
for the life of me understand how she thinks she can keep the records of the United States Naval Academy
private. The United States
Naval Academy is not, in any sense of the word, private.
Her education
is paid for by us, the taxpayers.
She's going to take on responsibilities to protect us. And if she cheated in school, we have a right to know that. I think we kind of have a right to know because she wants to be a governor too, and she was a member of Congress. And the fact that she won't release her records, doesn't it tell you everything you need to know? It give you a jerk. And it obviously, which means it's something very harmful to a person that wants to take on a position of tremendous responsibility. And why the hell the press lets her off on this is very simple. She's a Democrat. So they'll let her get away with it. If she were a Republican, they would crucify her. And then we've got the one in Virginia who is on record wanting to kill the Republican leader of the state legislature and the guy's children. And when asked if he was serious, he said, yes, he was serious. He'd rather, if he had a chance to kill Pol Pot, Hitler, or this guy, he'd rather kill this guy.
That's right. Yeah.
So whether it's serious or not,
the guy's obviously a complete wacko.
And he wants to be Attorney General of the state. Now, can you imagine if he were a Republican? They'd blame him on Trump. They'd require Trump get him out of the race. Meanwhile, Spanberger just won. And she wouldn't get him out of the race. I don't even think she criticized him. Did she criticize him?
She stayed silent. She sat there on stage and didn't say a word.
Profile and courage, and she stayed silent.
And she's going to be the governor of Virginia. What the hell's wrong with the people of Virginia?
That's right, Mayor. Now we're getting
our first results from the Garden State, the state of New Jersey.
The Garden State named after
the Sopranos.
Something like that. So with 14% of the vote in,
that's where I sent all of them.
You chased them out of New York.
Yeah. They had a big sign. Tony Soprano was driving in his car and he was going through the Lincoln Tunnel and it says, "Welcome to New Jersey." And every time we would see that, and I always used to watch it with a group of people. I went on mostly when I was mayor. I would say I'm very proud of that because I sent them all there. Because they, at one point when the murder rates really went down, I was accused by the left wingers of moving the bodies to New Jersey. They actually claimed that we were taking the bodies in the middle of the night, putting them out near. I guess they all think that Jimmy Hoffa is buried somewhere in New Jersey. They were building a new Giant stadium. They thought they were going to find his body. Unfortunately, they didn't. Or fortunately.
So with
60% not reporting,
these are heavy Democrat numbers coming in right now. Mikey Sherrill with a 62 to 36% lead over Jack Ciattarelli. But again, these votes are coming in Burlington County, of course, up near the city of New York, Bergen County, where it's neck and neck in Bergen County with 20% of the vote.
Bergen County used to be a Republican county. It's one of those suburban counties that switched
under Trump.
Oh no, well, switched back with Trump, but it used to be Republican way back, and then became Democrat, and now with Trump, it's become pretty competitive.
And then,
so big counties outside the city: Bergen County, 20% of the vote in. Sherrill, 4-point advantage.
Essex County with 36% of the vote in. That's Newark, heavy Democrat area. Sherrill is
how much of the vote is in Essex County?
A third.
Oh, that's a lot.
And Mikey Sherrill
with a big lead, 80% to 20%.
But again, that's what she's going to have to run up the numbers, right?
That's about right. She's going to have to be at about 80% in Newark.
And same with Hudson County
with 40% of the vote in.
Do you have a category there for dead people vote?
We don't have to do a category for the dead vote because that's 100% a Democrat party each and every election cycle.
I mean, I told him to go campaign
in cemeteries. I mean, the Democrats always get the dead vote,
and we don't.
So maybe we should do some kind of a,
we should do some kind of a
get out the dead vote.
Right. We got to catch up with the Democrat Party. They've had a monopoly on that at least since Kennedy.
Right.
Reporting the Democrat Jay Jones maintaining a 1-point lead over Republican incumbent Jason Myers, 50.4% to 49.2%. That is with 42% of the vote.
Well, that dropped 0.2 of a point.
And what we want to notice here outside, of course, Washington, D.C., a big federal government workforce. This is where Democrats are expected to do well. This is why Virginia is no longer a red state. Fairfax County with about a third of the vote in. Jay Jones with a 70-30 advantage. Loudoun County, Jay Jones with a 60-40 advantage. But basically, all of Loudoun County is now in. Prince William County, Jay Jones with a 2-1 advantage. That's with about 2/3 of the vote in. So we're watching those counties right outside Washington, D.C. again with President Trump. And
can we go down to Richmond and
so we're going
the western part of the state?
So Richmond with 14% reporting.
Jay Jones with a big lead, 77-22%. And then these, the counties right outside of Richmond, you have Chesterfield County, kind of an even county. Jay Jones with a slight advantage, 51-48. That's with half the votes in. And then Hanover County, again, these counties are kind of the suburban counties outside of Richmond. So they're split counties. And Jay Jones with a 58-42%. That's in Hanover County. We get down to the Republican areas, right? Virginia Beach, counties such as Chesapeake. That's where Republican Jason Myers really needs to run up the score. And only 7% of some of these counties.
That's very good. I mean, Virginia Beach and those areas have
military also.
That's right.
That's right.
And of course, the whole western part of the state. We'll try to get some maps.
Western part of the state should be heavily Republican.
Heavy red,
and we want to look to see the numbers. So a lot of these states,
a lot of these counties, they're smaller counties, right? We're talking thousands of votes in some cases.
You put them all together, and it starts to balance.
Right. Something that President
Trump mastered in 2016.
We really got a lot of new voters in these areas. So Jones now with a 2-point lead. He's increased the gap. He's up by about 25,000 votes with 43% reporting. Jay Jones maintains about a 2 percentage point.
Well, that sounds like it's very competitive.
Very competitive race. And again, they called the governor's race, right?
Quite a while ago. They're
the winner.
20 minutes, about 20 minutes ago.
Right.
She's up 11 points.
points on Winsome Earl Sears.
Meanwhile, the Jason Myers, the Republican Attorney General candidate, is within just 2 points of Democrat Jay Jones. So the Republican running for Attorney General is actually running almost 5 points ahead of the Republican nominee for governor.
Well, I think that was expected, right? When you look at
that
the
was
look at the
expected.
polls, that's the way the last poll, the Attorney General race, 29-47. So
Right.
in the
And that's exactly what they are.
That's right.
so for once, the polls seem somewhat accurate.
Right. Going back to
New Jersey, 19% of the vote now in.
Mike
Sherrill
Sherrill maintains a 63% to 35% lead over Jack Ciattarelli. But again, right, it really matters where these votes are coming in from.
And the percentage is
About 19% of the total vote. So
Okay.
we're waiting for
for
these,
these,
the big counties
counties
outside
outside Philadelphia.
We're looking at the
other
county
counties, Bergen County,
outside
New York City,
and
so
so we'll
we'll
be
be
watching.
watching these closely.
Ocean-
Ocean County, right? That's, I believe, where Atlantic City is located.
That is
That's
a Republican county. That's
where Republican
when
they really got
got
to the score.
in Ocean County. Jack Ciattarelli with a 63 to 36% lead over Mikey Sherrill with 41%. So that's
Well, that's
Right.
a big percentage in.
for
For Republicans to win in New Jersey,
and by the way, Ocean County just north of Atlantic City. But that's where Republicans really
have to come in.
big.
Well, Atlantic City
Run up
itself
score.
is Democratic.
Right.
Atlantic City itself, Atlantic County,
Surrounding areas Republican.
exactly. So Ocean County just north,
And just about everything from there down to Pennsylvania is Republican.
Right.
right,
So-
South Jersey.
The short, the Jersey Shore.
We're still waiting.
Monmouth County,
Well, that's probably pretty close, Monmouth County.
nothing reported. Middlesex County, we got nothing.
That would be Republican.
Somerset, nothing.
Republican.
Atlantic.
Atlantic County, that's Atlantic City and the surrounding areas, south.
The city itself will probably be Democrat, and the outer areas would probably be Republican.
So we are awaiting. So in New Jersey again,
Yeah,
just
just 19% of the vote in. Mikey Sherrill with a commanding lead over Republican Jack Ciattarelli.
but we
But
caught.
mentioned
Just remember, right? It really matters where these votes are coming in. So there's outstanding votes. We expect that to be much closer as the night wears on. Jay Jones now maintaining that 1.6%
6% lead over
Republican Jason Myers, 49% to 50.6%. So that in Virginia, and of course, a race that we're very interested
That's
in.
a 1.5%, 1.6%. That's where it's pretty much. That's where it's pretty much remained.
Right.
And of course, New York City, New York City at the top of the hour, 9 p.m. Eastern.
So
So
we
we
still
still
have to wait there. We are going to connect shortly with Justine Murray, who's covering
Okay.
the New Jersey race. So let me get that over to her. So we'll have Justine Brooke Murray on in just a matter of minutes.
So let's talk about a little other news, like the complete, incredible, I guess, surprise of this Carlson interview of Nick Fuente, which has so far got 5 million YouTube views, and it's really very, very unfortunate. I mean, here the Republican Party, for the first time in a long time, is beginning to establish a much stronger vote in the Jewish community. This reminds me a little bit of what happened with Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan in 1980 got the largest Jewish vote a Republican had gotten, largely because of Carter's antipathy to Israel and the Carter administration's strong anti-Israel views. They were so strong that the Democrat mayor of New York, Ed Koch, endorsed Reagan. And Reagan got 40%, 45, because the Jewish vote had been traditionally, since Roosevelt, very heavily Democrat. It slipped a little in 84, but not by much. And then along came the new Secretary of State for George H.W. Bush, Jim Baker, who was as much the Secretary of State for Saudi Arabia as he was for the United States, because he was a big oil guy. And he just blew the Jewish vote, blew it away. I mean, he was clearly anti-Israel, clearly pro Saudi Arabia at a time when Saudi Arabia was really different than it is now. At a time in which Saudi Arabia was seeding most of the mosques in the United States, some of which
turned out to be the place of which a terrorist came.
So Baker
Became Sunrise Brother.
in the Jewish community or in those who support Israel, and then we have had a hard time getting that vote back. I didn't. I went from 50-something% of the Jewish vote to 60-something% of the Jewish vote to almost 70% of the Jewish vote when I ran for mayor, and I was a Republican, of course. So this idea that Republicans can't get the Jewish vote is a big mistake, as the president proved in the last election. Now, what the heck Tucker Carlson is doing, playing around with Nick Fuentes, is extraordinarily irresponsible. Nick Fuentes is either a really bad person, evil person, or he's out of his mind. This is a guy who uses the N-word casually, like you're supposed to use it. Is talking about white genocide, and he's on Team Hitler. He has said. Here's a quote from Fuentes. Hitler is awesome.
Right. And the Holocaust didn't happen.
Now, whether he's just a jerk looking for attention or serious, and I think it's probably the latter rather than the former. What the heck are you giving him publicity for? What's the point of it? I mean, these aren't serious, well thought out political views, philosophical views. There's nothing particularly advancing anything with a guy who is a Jew hater. I mean,
It's been going on for about 3,000 years.
But Carlson decided
to make a big interview with him.
and then he basically has him sitting on his lap. I mean, I thought he was going to, kind of like pet him like a dog during the interview. He never challenged him on anything. And then you compare that to his interview with Ted Cruz, in which he treated Ted Cruz like he was some kind of a murderer. And you're wondering what the hell is going on with Tucker Carlson. Never challenged him on anything. And then when it ends, the head of the Heritage Foundation is all upset that people criticize Tucker Carlson. But what do you think they're going to do, jackass? Fuentes is a highly questionable character. He's a person that would best be dealt with by ignoring him. I think that point was made in several columns by conservatives today. And why do you want to snatch a defeat out of the jaws of victory? Is there some sickness that we have? Rich Lowry probably did the best column on this today. In which he said that he gave the 27-year-old Nazi sympathizer a tongue bath. Interesting. And said at one point of the Fuentes ideological project, I guess you won. The former Fox News host has made it his business to promote anti-Semitic tropes and conspiracies. What Stephen A. Smith is to sports talk, Tucker Carlson is to obsessive anti-Zionism. There's almost no anti-Jewish theme, dual loyalty, usury, sinister plotting that he doesn't elevate. Carlson interviewed Ted Cruz before President Trump launched his strikes on Iran's nuclear sites earlier this year. It was a vicious interview in which he predicted that if didn't he predict that if we attacked Iran, we create some kind of war or something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what he did.
At that point, somebody should say, "Gee, Tucker, you know,
Exactly what he did. Yeah.
we know how smart you think you are, but you were wrong about that, sweetheart. I mean, you're dead wrong about it. So maybe we shouldn't take your advice if you're that far off. Maybe Cruz has a little better grounding on reality since he turned out to be right." He also, I don't know how, this was about a year ago that he had Darryl Cooper on. Thank God you probably don't know who Darryl Cooper is, but you don't know who he is, but Carlson announced that he's the most important historian in the United States. That's interesting because I'm pretty much an amateur student of history. I don't even think he's a serious person, much less someone you could give the title historian to. I do have to admit that one of my heroes is Winston Churchill. This guy considers Winston Churchill, this person that Carlson announced was the most important historian in the United States. He has listed Churchill as the chief villain of World War II. While Hitler didn't want to fight.
Right.
Churchill, if it weren't for Churchill, Hitler would have just been a really, really nice chancellor. All those Jewish people would still be alive. All those Orthodox Christians would still be alive. There wouldn't have been a war. That bad Churchill. And that the Holocaust was a product of inept military planning. Now, where do you find these people, Tucker? Where do you find them? In the shithole?
Right. Well, we want to go to Justine Brooke Murray for a quick update on what's happening in New Jersey. Those of you that have been a longtime viewer of the show, you all know Justine. And Justine's coming to us from, I believe, Virginia. She's coming to us from Virginia, but she's going to report for us on New Jersey. Really, she can cover all three. Of course, she worked a lot in New York City as well. Justine, welcome to the show.
Justine, how are you?
I'm good, Mayor. It's so good to see you again. Thank you for having me back.
Hold on a second.
Let's put her up.
Yep.
Just put it up a little.
All right, I can hear you.
How are we? Are we good? It's great to see you both.
Well, it's great to see you, Justine. So what do you make of all this?
Yeah, so I currently have 1 foot in Virginia, 1 foot in New Jersey. Of course, I'm from New Jersey. Virginia, it was surprisingly cold very early, especially with now we're seeing Jay Jones. It seems to be they're calling him in over Jason Miyares. And the message that this is sending is essentially if he's going to win, even with his leaked text messages, the Democrat Party is now going to have to decide whether or not supporting violence as a means to obtaining what you want is going to be a mainstream and acceptable position. And I think the legacy media had a lot to do with covering up his text messages. I remember back in October, for the first week that these text messages were released, the legacy media, only NBC, I believe, spent like a minute covering it. And then they immediately went back to talking about young Republican group chats. So part of this is the propaganda war. So this is what's really affecting the election, because you're seeing a lot of people who are still supporting this guy, despite his history of basically saying that he would be willing to see his opponent's children die. And now in New Jersey, we're also seeing the election. We're also seeing some outlets already call it pretty quickly. Outlets are already trying to claim that Mike Sherrill is winning. We have to remember that it seems to be they started calling the Democrat-leaning counties first. So you had Hudson County, you had all these Democrat-run counties already calling it in for Mikey Sherrill. But then you had Ocean County, as I believe you had mentioned earlier on the show, getting called in for Jack Ciattarelli. So it still seems to be too early to tell. Of course, you're going to see a lot of left-wing media outlets that are trying to jump immediately to conclusions.
So what do you think as a native of New Jersey, what do you think of the chances of Ciattarelli?
You cut out a little bit.
What do you think of Ciattarelli's chances?
Well, at the beginning of the day, I thought he might have a little bit better of a chance than he does now. With that being said, there are about 840,000 more registered Democrats in New Jersey than there are Republicans. So it's still a very blue state, and it's still very hard for a Republican to win. With that being said, if Mikey Sherrill does indeed win this, this will be the first time in over 60 years that a Democrat has been in office for 3 terms. So it will have been Phil Murphy, and now we're going to have Mikey Sherrill. So that's something that kind of surprised me. I was thinking that 4 years ago we saw Virginia flip, and then we saw New Jersey stay blue. And I thought, well, since that there's been a lot of more outreach in New Jersey, a lot of more focus in New Jersey, that New Jersey would turn red and maybe Virginia would go blue this time. But now it seems like both New Jersey and Virginia might be turning blue, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah. For the ticket. And I see her described in the articles here as not being a very good candidate. I watched the debate. I thought she was terrific at the debate. So I don't exactly understand what went wrong. The governor is popular, right?
Yeah.
And she's the lieutenant governor. And
Well, it's kind of like what we talked about earlier, right, Mayor? Where it's it's a year after the Republican Party took the White House with President Trump, right?
and we took Virginia
and
for the first time in a long time, right?
But with the Doge cuts, right, Virginia's got a huge federal government population and people that know people in the federal government. And with the ongoing cuts under Doge, President Trump already, right, was promised to cut government, roll back spending. That's going to upset even some Republicans in a place like Virginia. And then when you start taking people's jobs, which we obviously agree with, it's still going to impact people and people that know these.
But weren't they
folks.
mostly staying home? I mean, we didn't take their jobs. I mean, we stopped paying them because they were staying home. Half the federal government was staying home.
Probably more, right, with COVID.
Well, probably more. Yeah, I think normally half the federal government stays home.
Well, we'll check back in with Justine a little bit later on. We're following this race closely in the Garden State.
Justine, I'm going to ask you later, so I'll let you prepare for it, if you don't mind. I want to ask you about this Tucker Carlson thing. It really has me very upset, and it has me very upset because I lived through this before with Baker. Reagan really had set us up to be, I think, to get a majority of the Jewish vote. I mean, he won New York, for example, in 1980 on the Jewish vote. And last time I ran for mayor, I got 70% of the Jewish vote. It is not impossible for a Republican to get the Jewish vote and remain a complete Republican. And then all of a sudden, Jim Baker comes along, who clearly was representing Saudi Arabia. He was an oil guy. His views, I mean, he may very well be the guy who got us into the two-state solution idiocy. Maybe Clinton, I can't be sure. But he just took like 8 years of great progress and flipped it all around. And George H.W. Bush didn't have a strong enough personality to overcome. In fact, I never knew why he made him Secretary of State. He wasn't a bad Secretary of the Treasury, but his views on the Middle East were so warped that he never should have been Secretary of State. Now I see all the progress that's been made with the Jewish community. Trump doing so well.
Right.
And now we have Carlson sounding like the second coming of Lindbergh or something, or Father Coughlin, or interviewing an idiot, anti-Semite and moron, and basically treating him like he was an intelligent person, putting him on his lap and coddling him like a dog. I mean, Fuentes I think Fuentes is a joke. I mean, he's not even a serious person. I can't see what you're interviewing him about. The guy uses the N-word. He praises Hitler. I don't even think he's serious. I think he's doing it for attention. The last thing you do with a jerk is give him attention. And he gives him attention as if he's serious. And it sounds like he agrees with those views. So I don't know. That's a lot to think about, but I'd like to hear what you have to think about that. All right, give it a little thought.
Yeah.
All right.
You made a very good point. It's the political horseshoe theory, and we're seeing identitarianism. It was first pushed by the left, pushed by BLM, and now we're seeing the right's version of BLM. And I believe that they're both rooted in ethnic and racial Marxism. They're trying to pit identities against each other. America is based on a meritocracy. And now we're seeing some people on the right pushing the same rhetoric that the left has pushed in the name of equality.
Yeah, I'm disappointed. I like Tucker. I'm very disappointed in him. And I think he's too intelligent to be doing this. But okay, we'll be back in a little while. And I guess we'll take a break, huh?
That's right. Thank you, Justine. Right. And
so because we are not communists and we have to make money. We're not like, we don't get anything. Nobody gives us any, it's not like we have a free grocery store and a free buzz. And like Mondami's going to do for New York. Maybe I shouldn't have left New York. Everything would be free, Ted.
Right. We could be taking those buses up and down Madison Avenue.
Most important thing is not to work so you don't get taxed.
That's right.
So go to New York. The answer for young kids now is you don't have to worry about working. Don't work. First of all, if you work, you can take all your money away because he's going to tax you. So don't work and see if you can scam the government for everything.
That's right.
Right.
And on that note, we'll be right back.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month.
Wow.
Including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news, even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax, channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly, where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans. no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's Coffee.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Did we advertise Rudy Coffee yet?
We did, Mayor.
Man,
Got to get
I'm
that.
going to tell
Rudy
you
Coffee.
something really terrible. Really terrible. And it's probably going to affect my performance tonight. I've been out of Rudy Coffee for 3 or 4 days. I'm calling Darren to try to get it, and I can't get any Rudy Coffee. So now I'm using my old coffee. You know what I used to really like. It's Italian coffee. So, but man, I give it to everybody that come and they say, "This is what happened to your coffee? It's not my coffee." Rudy Coffee is really, really exceptionally good. And if you get it, just try it. And you're going to be shocked. People are shocked when they have it. There's a reason for it, which we can go into great detail about when we have more time, but there's no election going on. But there's a reason for it. It's very carefully selected and very healthy. Dr. Maria made sure of that. Darren made sure we got all the right beans. And I made sure, I tested it. That was my role, because I've been a big coffee drinker all my life. So let's see. We were complaining about Carlson because I really seriously, I really do think with anti-Semitism there's a rule that we figured out after the Holocaust, and it's this: you strike it out, you kill it the minute it starts. You don't let it fester. It's the sickest prejudice we have in our world, not just in our civilization. I mean, this goes back to before we had civilization. And it's completely sick. And it can destroy a society. And it can destroy a political movement. The Democrats are infested with it. Why the heck we want to import it into this beautiful MAGA movement, I have no idea. But so far, it's just Tucker, and I like Tucker very, very much. And I'm not saying that in any condescending way. I'm saying it because I admire Tucker a lot. And I admire his courage and the things that he brings out. And that makes it even worse that he's the one that is presenting this and fostering this. And I have tried very, very hard to get on his show or to have him on my show, and he avoids me. And I was on with last night.
Last night?
Last night I was with Dave.
Dave Rubin. You were with Dave Rubin today.
Yeah, was it today?
It's been such a long day. So many interviews, man. You've done like 10 interviews today.
Well, before we get to New York, we have 15 minutes for that. I have to tell him a really funny story, Ted. And if you don't put yourself on camera, I'm going to stop. I'm just going to quit. I'm going to walk out.
I'll be on shortly.
Today, I was convinced I had a vote. This is my second time with an opportunity to vote in Virginia. I voted in the presidential election last year in Virginia, and I voted early because I was afraid, who knows, I might be out of town on election day. It turned out I was in town, and I went with the president to vote. I didn't vote a second time. I'm not a Democrat. I didn't vote a second time. I just went to watch him vote with Melania. And Ted and I had a great time in my car, remember? We had the convertible. And so now I'm all set to vote now. So I figure I'm going to vote in the same place the president voted because we're in the same district. And I look online and it has all the places where you're supposed to vote. Can't get a copy of the ballot, which kind of annoyed me because I don't know Virginia that well. With New York, I wouldn't need a copy of the ballot. No. I could read it there and know it. So Ted goes out a little earlier to scout because the place is only about 3 or 4 blocks away. He comes back and he says, "No, the voting in Palm Beach is not at the school. It's at the Catholic Church's religious center. That's where everybody's voting in Palm Beach." And I thought, well, because it's an off-year election and not they put all of Palm Beach in one place. So, John, do you mind if I mention you? Our good friend John Rich came over and he picked Ted and I up.
He's a great singer.
And the first thing we drove over to the Catholic Center that was supposed to be the vote. There's nobody there, not even any Catholics. I mean, there's nobody there. It looked like, oh my God, what a turnout this is going to be. Long and short of it is, after a half hour of putzing around and screwing around, there was no vote in Palm Beach. There's nobody on the ballot. I was willing to vote anyway. Even if there's nobody on the ballot, I can write something in. But I will never miss a vote. It's like, so thank God there was nobody on the ballot. But it was kind of ridiculous that we're there wanting to vote and they didn't have anybody for us to vote for, right?
Well, there are 17 counties in the state of Florida that are voting today.
Well, we have to get used. We have to get used to our new. We got to get used to our new politics. In a few minutes, we'll go back to my old politics, which is so corrupt. It'd make you sick. I'm looking at a map right now of the 5 boroughs.
So we're just minutes away from the polls being closed. The focus is in the front.
You tell me where the vote comes from, and I tell you,
the mayor's forcing me to go on here.
Within 15 minutes,
so
I'm going to tell you what the result will be. Let's see how good I am.
Right. So the polls, of course, close in the Commonwealth of Virginia at 7 p.m. Eastern, where Democrat Abigail Spanberger has been declared the winner in the gubernatorial race. In the Attorney General's race, the Republican Jason Myers is within just a point of Democrat Jay Jones.
How far along has it gone, though?
And so we'll see how far along that is. So I see I'm a little bit out of focus. I got to focus that, Mayor. But we'll work on that.
Oh my God, the women's vote. I mean, the women's share just went up 10%.
Well, Mayor Giuliani is the best wingman in America.
Get out of here.
100%. So in Virginia, the Attorney General's race, Jay Jones has now opened a 2.4% lead with 69% reporting.
You know, if he gets elected, he's going to think it's okay to kill people.
That's right.
He was speculating about doing it. The best answer is to make sure he doesn't get elected, so he doesn't really think he can. So if he gets elected, having speculated about killing the Republican leader and his kid, he's going to figure, I'm a Democrat. I can do anything, even kill people.
That's right.
Which wouldn't be so far off.
So Chitterelli now with 32% of the vote in. This is in the New Jersey gubernatorial race. Cheryl, the Democrat, up on Chitterelli 58.6% to 40.9%.
I don't like that.
Now Ocean County 57% reporting.
I don't like that. Tell me.
That's a big gap. 58.6% to 40.9%.
58.6
to 40.9
to 40.9
with 32% reporting.
So you've got about 1/3 in. That's a good share of the vote, even if it is. But it is a very, very like most places in America now, it is a very divided state. I mean, you can go to one part of the state and the Democrats lucky to get 10%, and then you go to another part of the state and Republicans lucky to get 10%. I know New Jersey fairly well, not that well, because I was involved in the Chris Christie campaigns. I was the first Republican to endorse Chris Christie. Not that I'm extraordinarily proud of that anymore, but
at one point we all were.
No, I mean, I worked very hard to get Chris elected.
Why'd you shut the bridge, Chris? Why'd you shut the bridge? I mean, we laugh, but I mean, the guy was
what a campaign
theme
that would be. That would be a great campaign commercial running against him.
Well, that's.
Then you come up with
basically
about 4 or 5 ridiculous reasons.
Well, yeah, right. They told you.
Yeah.
I mean, ambulances. I mean, which might have been a real one, but it's an easy one to use.
His people went to jail, but not him, right?
Yeah, it does.
Stand-up guy, that Chris.
He had a fall guy ready.
You know what I didn't do? I didn't take a cheap shot when we had Boomer Esiason's partner on.
Oh, Craig Carton.
Craig Carton, yeah,
he's great.
Boomer and Craig challenged us to a baseball game. All of their media people against me, and it was mostly Tunnel to Towers and the police detectives. And so I got a bunch of police detectives together to play them. And I got Joe Torre to be the manager of our team. And we beat him 3-2, and I was the winning pitcher.
Right.
I've only pitched once in Yankee Stadium, and I have a 1,000 record. But Chris was my third baseman. And, Chris,
right.
Chris was then, I think it was before he did. It was before he did his big. It was before he did his big loss of weight. So here's this big giant guy at third base, and everybody's wondering, like the detectives are wondering, what the hell they have him at third base for? First play, unbelievable play at third base. Another unbelievable play at third base. I mean, must have made 3 or 4 really terrific plays at third base. Then he makes one error, and we win the game 3-2. And all Carton and Boomer do is make fun of him for the next 3 weeks because he looked funny in the uniform. He looked funny because he's very fat. But he played an exceptionally good third base. They don't mention the errors they made in the game, but they focus on him. And even now, when I interviewed Chris, who I love, I mean, he was terrific. He never said congratulations on winning that game. The last out of the game, I'm on the mound. We're winning 3-2. There's a man on second base. There's a guy at the plate, and I don't know if he has a 3-2 count. It must have been a 3-2 count or a 2-2 count or whatever. And Torrey comes out to the mound for fun. And he says, let's talk over what you're going to throw. So I said, I have no idea what I'm going to throw. I'm just going to try to get him. We're going to try to strike him out. That's the way I've been pitching the whole game. He said, I noticed. And I got a call strike. I'm not sure if it was a gift or a real one, but I got a call strike on the third out. But Torrey coming out, I said, if you came out here on one of your pitches, they tell you go sit down, Skip, leave me alone. Well, now let's go back to something serious.
That's right, Mayor. So again, the polls are about to close in New York City. We're just minutes away.
Now, New York City is traditionally very quick. The Board of Election, which has its set of problems, is still extraordinarily expert at counting the, and as I told you, I mean, somebody said tonight, the New York Board of Elections is crooked. The Board of Elections actually isn't. The cheating in New York takes place at the polling places, which are controlled by Democrats, often with no Republican inspector there. So they can do anything they want. I mean, they'd change the machine. Nobody would know. They just screw up the records, and you don't have to cheat at the Board of Elections because it's so easy to cheat in the districts that are 90% Democrat. There are several districts or voting places in Manhattan where Trump got zero. He only won one polling place in Manhattan, in Chinatown, which is absurd. He didn't. He won a lot more than that. Even though they knew they were going to win that election, they were going to win the electoral votes, and you think, well, why do they have to cheat? Let him get the actual number that he's entitled to. I'm telling you, they do it for practice, in case they get a close election, and then they'll be able to determine. The bosses will be able to determine who wins the election. They don't want. New York stopped being a democracy about 1830. Boss Tweed kind of cemented it, and it's been that way since then. And every once in a while, we get a break.
Right. Sorry, I'm reading the results. I just said right. I hope that was the correct response to what you just said. Yes. So we are watching these races closely in Virginia. Of course, the Commonwealth. Spanberger was named the winner with 71% of the vote. Jay Jones holds a 2.5% lead over Republican incumbent Jason Myers. So we're watching that closely. That's with 72% of the vote in. Now we go to New Jersey with 38%. Mikey Sherrill maintaining a strong lead over Jack Ciattarelli, 57.6% to 41.9%. And we are just minutes away from the polls closing in New York City.
Well, I'll finish up on Tucker because I hate to just pick on him, but Tucker, one of the things that he expressed was a criticism of Christian Zionism. I don't know if he knows what Christian Zionism is. Christian Zionism goes back to a 1560 translation of the Bible, of the Geneva Bible, where there's a note which says, Isaiah speaks of a time when Israel should build again the ruins of Jerusalem and Judea. The Puritans in America took that very seriously. And Puritan leaders looked forward to the regathering of the Jews in what was then Ottoman Palestine and the establishment of some kind of state there. That was the Christian Zionist movement. They wanted a Jewish state in Jerusalem. Centuries before the emergence of the organized Zionist movement in America. Now, it was supported by none other than our great founder, John Adams. In 1819, former President John Adams, as a few years before his death, wrote to the Jewish American politician Mordecai Noah that, quote, I really wish the Jews again in Judea an independent nation. So, I mean, this idea that the Jews have no claim on that area of the world is absurd. It's like a 3,000-year claim. And we have John Adams in 1819 wishing that the Jews would be back in Judea as an independent nation. That's what Christian Zionism is about, Tucker. Maybe you should. I know you sound very bright, and you are, but maybe you should read a little more. Reading is good. It makes you calm down and think. And
if you want.
And why are you trying to destroy our MAGA movement by inserting the worst and the most hateful prejudice to ever exist in the world in the midst of our wonderful party? Please, stop it. Stop it. And Heritage Foundation, extricate yourself from it. It is just going to hurt you, and it should.
Right. So the polls are now closed in New York City. We got to get theme.
Oh yeah, 9 o'clock.
We got to get something, or something we can write.
Well, every once in a while they get into these disputes in New York where they try to keep, like there are 20, I don't know, even more than that, like 100 people online.
Right.
They close the polls. And the question is, can you let them vote afterwards? And the cops make individual decisions about that. But the reality is at 9 o'clock, in fairness to everyone, voting should stop. If you couldn't get there before 9 and you're online, tough luck. I mean, voting should be much more disciplined, and that would avoid a lot of the cheating and a lot of the, even when there isn't cheating, the distrust about it. It should be conducted according to strict rules that should be followed. Because you say, well, we want everybody to vote, but then you can have everybody cheating too if you don't have strict rules.
Right. That's right. So polls are now closed in New York City.
That doesn't mean people aren't voting. You got to be really careful. They'll be voting for another half hour.
So if you're in line
in certain places, I mean, and the tragedy of it is it's not uniformly enforced as a rule. It's an ad hoc decision that's made. You know, this polling place will stay open for another half hour. Some other polling place will close right down. And it really should be a hard and fast rule. At 9 o'clock, boom, it all stops. The machine shouldn't be able to operate after 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock, end of it. Oh, you want to make it 10? Make it 10 o'clock.
Right.
But there should be uniform rules. And that's one of the things that the crooks, which are mostly the Democrats, use to cheat.
Absolutely. So now
most of the results will start coming in, and the early results will be heavily Democrat because they'll come from Manhattan, which is right there, and reports right away. And Staten Island usually reports about halfway through,
maybe
toward the end. So you're not going to see any kind of balance until the end. But we'll take a look. I have here ready the Board of Election.
Oh, the votes are now coming in.
Here's the Board of Election.
36% right off the bat. 36% of the vote is already in the New York City race.
Let's put it up.
Zoran Mamdani.
So let's put it up.
So Zoran Mamdani is at 51.5% of the vote. Andrew Cuomo with 39.7%, and Curtis Sliwa at 8%.
51.5. What was the other?
39.7, Andrew Cuomo, and Curtis with 8% of the vote. This is with 36% reporting. And we'll put this up on the screen for everyone to see.
That's a little ridiculous. That's the early vote.
Yeah.
They probably just tossed in the early vote.
They just dumped that all
They couldn't possibly, in 3 minutes, have counted 36% of the vote, unless they really are cheating. They couldn't possibly have counted. So that shows you what the early vote. That shows you what the early vote did. And I would tell you that's very encouraging for Mamdani. The thing that would normally be encouraging is that Curtis is down 8%.
Right.
I mean, Curtis in every poll was in double digits. And you know that Curtis vote went to Cuomo, I think. But even with that, he's behind by over 10%. And that's very scary.
That's right. So with 36% reporting, Mamdani, 51.5%, Cuomo, 39.7%, Sliwa, 8%. Again, that's with 36%. We're thinking that's the early vote. It tells us where. Yep. If you go to the map that I had up earlier, I can read it for you, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Where these votes are coming from here. In just a moment, I actually want to close out this map first. So again, we want to get these numbers out. The polls have just closed in New York City. 36% of the vote is in. And we're going to bring up the map here. So Manhattan, 43% of the vote reporting. Bronx, 28%. Queens, about a third of the vote. Brooklyn, about a third of the vote. And Staten Island, 38% of the vote in. Andrew Cuomo with 51% in Staten Island. Curtis Sliwa with 27%. Mamdani, 21%. So it does appear as though a good number of folks in Staten Island that would otherwise have voted Republican are in fact voting for Andrew Cuomo tonight.
Well,
And we'll
Yep,
put these
yep,
maps
that's
up.
that's what the Board of Elections is saying.
So we'll put this map up right here. Put the mayor in a small box.
There's 819,000 votes already counted,
That's right.
and there's 51.53 for Mondami and 39.66 for Cuomo.
Right.
It's hard to know where they came from, though, and I do think these are votes that came from early voting, because you couldn't have counted them this fast, and they don't show yet what part of the city they came from.
Right.
So we'll keep searching
Right.
to find out.
So with 38% of the vote in, Mamdani, 36%, my bad. Mamdani at 51.5%, Cuomo 39.7%, and Curtis Sliwa at 8% of the vote. That's with 36% reporting. And we think that 36% mayor is in fact the early vote.
No
or at least a
question.
portion of the early vote.
Yeah, it's beginning to change now.
Now we go over to New Jersey with 43% reporting. Mickey Sherrill is up over Republican Jack Ciattarelli, 56.6% to 42.9%. And that is with 43% of the vote reporting. What I have up there is the New York City mayor's race.
Yeah, I see.
So those are the first numbers to come in. Those numbers must have been ready right as the polls closed. Mamdani able to get over the 50%.
Yeah, I would be concerned about that. I mean, that's not a good sign. If he's over 50%, if he's over 50% in early voting, he was never at 50% in any poll.
Right.
It also would indicate that actually, Curtis Lee was supporting him would mean nothing if he gets 50% of the vote.
Right. So we're following that closely. Again, 36%
Also,
of the vote in.
50% or more of the vote would go a much longer way to giving him a mandate to do all the crazy things he wants to do.
Right.
It's one thing if you're a minority election, and another thing if you're a majority. You know, my immediate Republican predecessor, John Lindsay, never got more than 41 or 42% of the vote. I got over 50% of the vote. Right. And it makes a very big difference.
Oh, big time. So again, that's with 36% reporting.
The Board of Elections is not giving out yet where it comes from. They usually do. And I don't know why they're hiding it. But they're not showing you where the vote's coming from.
Well, they are showing us, the New York Times does have an interactive map up where they are showing the breakdown by borough. And at this time, we have Staten Island, 38% reporting, Brooklyn, 35% reporting, Queens, 33% reporting, and in the Bronx, 28% reporting. Manhattan, 43% of the vote is in. And in Manhattan, Mamdani is at 52% of the vote. Cuomo, 44%. Curtis Sliwa, just 3% of the vote in Manhattan.
So, yeah, well, that would make sense.
And then in the Bronx, Mamdani at 52%, Cuomo, 30%. And we have, so bear with us, folks. We're kind of following these numbers and reporting them as we see them. Maybe we'll bring on Justine Brooke Murray for some reaction. And if the mayor wants to keep digging into the numbers here, I can ask her some questions.
Go ahead.
So, Justine, you're watching these results with us. What does this, and any thoughts on these initial numbers coming out? Mamdani over 50%, Cuomo about 12% behind him, and Sliwa with just 8%. We do believe this is the early vote. So, here. So we got Justina. We're gonna bring you back on here in a second, Justine. We can't hear you at the. Can you hear us?
Does this work now?
It does. Oh, the
now
old
we
mute,
hear
the old
you.
mute trick.
That's excellent.
You're on mute. So, Justine, what's your initial reaction to these numbers coming out of New York City?
It's not surprising at all. This is the direction the left has turned into. Radical leftism, socialism. This is the mainstream position of the Democrat Party, it seems. And we have to remember the legacy media has basically been campaigning for Mamdani. I think they did a better job at campaigning for Mamdani than Mamdani's campaign team has done, like themselves. This is a guy who he had posed with an unindicted 9/11, a co-conspirator in the 93 World Trade Center bombings. He was unindicted, but he posed with this guy. He also posed with the guy who did say 9/11 deserved to happen. And he refuses to condemn Hamas. He was given many opportunities. He was asked, it's simply like, do you condemn a terrorist organization, an Islamic terrorist organization? And he couldn't answer that. So a lot of people knew where he stood going into this. And yet the New York Times gaslit everybody saying, you're all an Islamophobe, simply for pulling this up, simply for saying, well, this is the guy who posed with the guy who says 9/11 deserved to happen. And yet the New York Times at the same time lectured us that we all must rewrite the definition of anti-Semitism in order to appease their candidate. And you wouldn't be able to say that. You wouldn't be able, imagine the New York Times lecturing Black Americans or any other identity group that we need to rewrite the definition of racism, in order to campaign for David Duke. So this is the direction the left has chosen to align themselves with. It was pretty obvious. We've seen pro-jihad rallies in New York every day. And more than that, you have a majority, a lot of young people who support socialists, the Columbia University types, the NYU types. They were all born after 2000. Most of them were born after 9/11. And they have no idea what it's like to live under socialism. A lot of them, they're still supported by their parents. Some of their tuitions are paid by their parents. So this might actually be a learning experience for New York. New York might, endure socialism, and the breadlines are, as much as socialism can be pushed legally, which many of these ideologies, government-run grocery stores, taxing people based on race, these are some of the things that Mamdani has advocated for. Some of those things won't hold water. But the policies and the ideologies that do hold water and are implemented into the city, it's going to push people the other way. They're going to have to live for this. They're going to have to live with this. And then they're eventually, maybe some people are going to wake up and say, oh, wait a minute, we experienced that. Now we know what socialism looks like. And
Right.
They might go the other direction. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very reasonable hypothesis, that in fact, this will frighten the hell out of the rest of America. The way most of what the Democrats have done has frightened the hell out of most of America. And they hang on with massive votes in New York and California and Illinois. I mean, they win like 8 states. They lose the other 42. They lose just about every county in America, but about 20. But they hold those places with sort of dictator level votes, 80%, 90%, 70%, ridiculous levels of votes. I mean, there are districts in Manhattan where Trump got no vote, 0, none, not a vote. So that's probably what we're seeing. And the only thing we have to hope for is that the rest of the American people look at this and say, what the hell is wrong with those people? No wonder people are leaving. The 3 states that are in a very, very bitter competition over who loses the most people are New York, New Jersey, and California. And it's anybody's guess as to who's going to win on a per capita basis any year. There have been years in which New Jersey's won, years in which New York has won. Long time California was winning, losing people to Texas like crazy, Arizona like crazy. Right now, I think New York is leading. Even the Rondami, Bondami, whatever his name is, even the pre-vote led to an enormous exodus from New York. So I don't know what's going to happen now. A poll that was taken yesterday says 9% of the people in New York will surely leave. And if you add surely to probably, it gets up to about 28%. That's a third of the city.
It's pretty crazy to think. New York is the financial capital. It's the theater capital.
It was.
It was, yeah, and it was, in my opinion, it was the cultural capital. And I'm a little bit biased because I grew up Jersey.
Sure.
Yep, but going to New York, as of course we both, you especially have a love for New York, and New York looked so much different under you. Just thinking 20 years later, we went from New York being united after 9/11, standing against terrorism, to now we have these college campuses, and we have a lot of people who think that it's hip and cool to promote pro-jihad ideals. And on top of that, socialism, which is really bleeding into communism here. I feel like the line between socialism and communism with these left-wingers, it seems to have just been blurred, all into communism. So and then as you mentioned, I remember when Lee Zeldin had lost, it was a tight race for him. But a lot of people who would have voted for him, they had already moved to Florida, including a lot of my friends. So now seeing the amount of people who are probably going to leave now that Mamdani seems to be winning, it makes me wonder, will New York ever return back to at least moderate? And I don't know. It's just, to think about the capital, the cultural capital of this nation, go into this direction. It's just a matter of how many people are just going to stay in Florida forever, and how many people are going to pick up the torch in the next election and try to do something different.
That's a very, very good point. And an electorate that has shrunk from the time I ran by about 10%, if it shrinks another 5 or 10%, is gone, right? And there's no reason why it wouldn't. They're going to be taxed, ridiculously taxed, for terrible services. I mean, human beings are human beings, and the whole country is not a communist country, just New York. And so there's a lot of places. This isn't like China or Venezuela. So you got plenty of choices. And unfortunately, people have shown a tremendous ability to be mobile. I mean, you look at how populations in New York, New Jersey, and California have shrunk. It's unbelievable. I mean, Texas was living off California for a long time. And the governor of Florida is actually worried about, can they expand fast enough to deal with it? But it's actually had some wonderful effects for Florida. Like 20 years ago, when I first started coming to Florida, it had a really rather ineffective educational system. Florida now is does much better on exams than New York does. I mean, it has a much better educational system than New York. And it has many more alternatives than New York has. So for a young family with children, if they're worried about, I mean, in New York City, you're really stuck. If you go to the public schools, you're under the domination of the Communist Teachers Union. If you go to a private school, you're under the domination of the, what would we call them? The elite. who are just as screwed up as the communist teachers union. You know, the first thing they want to know when you come in is, would you like to change your gender?
Of course.
Otherwise, we're not going to take you in. I mean, we only want people we like people that come in male and end up being female, or come in female and end up being male. Now, this happens in even the Catholic private schools. I mean, there are very few that don't have this woke, insane agenda in New York. So even if you have a lot of money, you can't escape it. You can pay $70,000, $80,000 a year for your kid to go to the second grade, which is absurd. And all they're trying to do is trying to convince your kid that he really wants to be a girl.
It's a good point. I went to a college prep school in New Jersey, and my parents were told, private school is not going to be as woke as public school. But it wasn't much different. I remember ninth grade, we had our leftist female teacher slap like worksheets on everyone's desks with this picture of a knapsack of quote unquote privilege, and we all had to talk about why we were privileged. We were bad because of our skin tone and our race.
Really?
And yep, and all the white boys in my classroom, they were demonized for being white and for being men, and they were lectured to for an entire semester that they had this imaginary privilege. So that's the type of education that you'll get even in certain private schools, especially in the Northeast, because it's still New Jersey.
Yeah. Now, if you go south or you go to Florida, it's very, very different. You can find both public schools and private schools that are much more traditional, like the one that I went to, where if I told Brother Kevin I'm thinking of becoming a girl, he would beat the shit out of me. And I would have given it up right away. I said, Brother Kevin, I think I'm a girl. He said, you do? Okay, here's a punch in the face. That'll wake you up. So every kid goes through that. Don't be a jackass. You're a boy. Boom.
Yeah.
Not that I'm advocating physical violence.
That's what the left
Oh
does.
God, I would never do that. Gosh almighty. I mean, boys shouldn't defend themselves. I mean, they should just sit there and get. That's what I think we're made up of. But thank you very much, Justine. You have, as usual, been terrific. And we admire you very much, particularly for all the advocacy you do for the greatest ally of the United States.
Thank you.
You know what country that is, right? And do you know who told me that? Ronald Reagan. So go stuff it, Tucker Carlson.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for standing up for us.
Oh my God, I was trained to do it by President Reagan. Told us more than once the reason for the strong alliance between the United States and Israel should never be premised on domestic politics. That's too weak a foundation.
Yeah.
He used to say, in life, human beings have very few really loyal friends. So do nations. Our most loyal is Israel. You can't imagine what they've done for me when I ask secretly. And you can't imagine what I wouldn't do for them secretly or publicly. So it should be premised on the security of the United States and the security of Israel. And they're like this. So I've never looked at it. I mean, I got a massive Jewish vote when I ran for mayor. And I'm going to tell you, I never pandered for it. It's just who I was.
You're our best friends. And
who I was. I mean, I by the time I ran for mayor, I had sent two Nazi war criminals to their death. And I was really proud of it. But okay. Thank you very much. And we got plenty more to discuss in the next couple of days. Yeah, just terrific. God bless you. You're Ted?
Justine is she's one of a kind. We love Justine. So Mayor, just getting some updates here, new numbers coming through. Unfortunately, I've been trying to keep up with the Chirons. It's the numbers. Oh, I'm trying to update on the show.
What are Chirons?
Chirons.
They sound to me like strange things from outer space that are attacking us.
No, it's
Can
the
we
the
shoot
ticker.
can
It's
we
the
shoot the
ticker,
co-
but I can't type in the new numbers. They're coming in
we
too
can
fast.
shoot the chyrons down. I don't want any chyrons here.
So
No
in,
chyrons.
so in New York, so I can't keep up because the numbers are coming in fast. So we're just gonna have to stick
You
with
can't
something
keep up. Well,
more
that's really
standard there.
terrible.
Well, no, I don't want to say it that way. So
Yeah.
with 52% reporting in New York City, Mamdani is now under the 50%
Good.
mark.
That's good. That's good. That's actually
49.6%.
What?
49.6.
Well, if you round it off, that's 50, but okay.
I'm gonna put this up here for people to see.
And 49.6, 41.5, and what I can't see.
8.1 for Curtis.
Okay, so Curtis is underperforming. He was at 15, so half of his is out.
Sure, if you consider underperforming, most of the outside of you, Governor Pataki, a lot of the.
No, it's understandable.
Yeah,
the
okay.
pre-
I
the
just want to
pre-
make that clear.
The president supported Cuomo.
Right.
It's going to take half of Curtis's vote
Right.
and move it to Cuomo. And there are a couple other people on the ballot too, so it doesn't average out to 100%. It doesn't come out to 100%.
Of course.
What is that? 50% of the vote?
52%.
I thought I saw 60 up there in the corner.
Now it's 60. It just went up again.
Is there any way to show me where that's coming from?
Yeah. I just need a second. Sorry. So
I was trying to get a good map here, and they I think they're trying to stop me from seeing. I do.
So Curtis is at 7.9% now. Bear with us, folks. We're looking at these maps and trying to update as we go here.
Shall we take a little break?
Nope.
You don't want to take a wow.
I don't think we should. These numbers are
Okay,
coming in
boss.
fast.
Sometimes he gets very assertive.
So here we go. Just want to get these new numbers up. That's all. Now we can take a break. Would you like to take a break, Mayor?
Well, I want to. What I'm trying to get, and they're making it very difficult to find, because I always use this. When you get into the second half of the vote, which is 50% or more, is the Board of Election numbers. They're about 10 minutes ahead of the times, and you'll be able to predict like a switch about 10 minutes before, if I can get the Board of Elections here. So let's take a short break and let's see if I can get the Board of Elections.
So we'll take a short break.
I
We'll
should've
be
had 20,
right
huh?
back with more coverage of Election Night in America 2025.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax, channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly, where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Oh, now I got it. I got the map I need. You know what Mandami is leading in Bedford-Stuyvesant? 67. He's leading by 67%, which means, and this is the thing that really will mean that Mandami has won, because they don't call it for him yet. He got the black vote. Somehow, some way, he took the black vote away from Cuomo, and he's getting it in numbers a little less than a usual Democrat. For example, Bedford-Stuyvesant, which is a black community, he has 68% of it.
Right.
This is an Islamic extremist.
Right.
But of course, the history of Islam has never been taught to people. There's no group in the history of the world that's ever enslaved blacks more than Islam.
Yep.
The whole idea of black Muslim was ridiculous. The amount of the slave trade for the Islamic countries was 4 times Europe. And the things they did with blacks from Africa were considerably more perverted than anything Europe ever did. But nobody teaches that.
Right.
So generally, blacks have had an instinctual reaction against Islamic extremists, but Mandami seems to have overcome that. That could get him really close to 50%.
Right.
I mean, if he gets anything close to the traditional black vote, he's going to win by a lot. So because he's won the black communities very, very. He hasn't won them like a traditional Democratic candidate, like 90%, but he's won them like about 60, 70%. And he wasn't supposed to do that well. Look at all of Upper Manhattan. It's all him. All of Upper Manhattan. So if you look at,
We'll put the map up. We'll put the map up.
In Bushwick, in Bedford-Stuyvesant, he's up by 67%. In Long Island City, he's up by 49%. Here's what's really surprising. In Astoria, he's at 49%. I won Astoria.
Right.
What the hell is he doing at 49% in Astoria? Astoria used to be an Italian-Greek community, or Greek-Italian, maybe more Greek than Italian. I won it like with 70%. Now, I don't. Maybe it has changed tremendously. That's probably right. But so what is he at now?
So with 69% of the vote reported,
he's at a straight 50% right now. 41% for Cuomo, and nothing for Sliwa, right?
7.7% for
Yeah,
Sliwa,
that's
120,000 votes.
Yeah, it's nothing. The Sliwa vote, half or more of it went to Cuomo, because Sliwa was between 15 and 20% and 22% on all of the polls. So what is he at there? I can't see that second number, the last number there, Ted. Curtis is at
7.7%.
So Curtis lost half to more of his vote.
And I would phrase that as a lot of folks, I'm not criticizing it, I'm not supporting it, a large number of prominent, outside of you and Governor Pataki, prominent Republicans weeks ago started calling on Curtis to drop out and appealing to voters,
No,
Republican
they never gave him a
voters,
chance. Yeah,
to vote for Cuomo.
yeah, it's
So,
a shame because we have to develop a party and we have to stick behind our candidates. But that's just me, and a lot of people don't agree with that. But
So-
in any event, if he gets it 50%, there's almost nothing we could have done. I mean, that's extraordinary if he gets to 50%. Half the city supports an Islamic extremist sympathizer in a city that has been victimized by Islamic extremism more than any city in America, whose victims are still dying from the after effects of having tried to save the people who were killed. There are extraordinary number of firefighters, police officers, and individual citizens who helped, who are dying of cancer, who are dying of lung diseases. And I know it's not told to you this way because of the silliness of some of it's the silliness of America, not that silliness of liberal America. All those people were killed because Muhammad told the Islamics to kill Jews and Christians, to take over the world. And when they did it, they were doing it in the name of Allah. This wasn't an attack based on anger over affordability or anger over political viewpoint. This was a traditional Muslim attack on a Western nation based on the teachings of the leader of the religion, Muhammad. Every single one of them was a traditional Islamic. I am absolutely certain they all yelled Allah Akbar before they smashed into the buildings, just like the people who would go into military barracks and shoot people and say Allah Akbar, and Obama couldn't figure out why they were doing it. Geez, I prosecuted a lot of cases. Very few people told me why they were doing it. If you say Allah Akbar, I kind of figure out why you're doing it because of Allah, right? If somebody was yelling out, Jesus, 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 then I would know these crazy people are doing it in the name of Jesus. But you see, Jesus didn't tell anybody to go kill people. Muhammad did. And now we have a possible mayor who is a supporter of Islamic extremism. It is astounding, frightening, and the rest of America better wake up to it. Because you could wake up one day and have one of these people. Look at what's happening in England. I told an Englishman the other day that within 10 years, it's going to be an Islamic country.
right.
And the Church of England is disappearing. Either they're leaving or they're fleeing to being Roman Catholics. So, I mean, Henry VIII has to be turning over in his grave.
Right. Well, so we're watching this closely. Let's bring the numbers back up, see where we're at with 75% now reporting. That's 3/4 of the city of the vote. Mamdani, 50.4%. Cuomo, 41.3%.
So I'll tell you what. I'm
Sliwa,
going to tell you, this is really
7
strange. This is really strange. If those numbers are correct, if that's correct, you should be able to call it right now. There's no way, if those numbers are correct, that anybody can catch him. The only question is he going to remain over 50 or not? And they're not doing it because even they know somewhere deep in their hearts this is an extraordinarily horrible result for this country. This is a completely unqualified child who looks like he's intellectually inferior, who is also a supporter of Islamic extremism, embraces it, and is very comfortable announcing that he's a. I mean, they use the word, he's a communist. So they're holding back a call on this. But if those numbers are correct, and of course I don't know if they are, but if they are, there's no hope. You got 75% of the vote and you're ahead by 8-9 points in a three-way race I don't care, even if all of Staten Island is left, you're not gonna win.
Right.
I could call this election for Mondami if you want. I mean, I'm not. God forbid I would call it for a person who hates America. But that election is over. Mondami's the next mayor. Question is, does he have over 50% of the vote or not? Let's hope he doesn't. I mean, it actually would make a little bit of a symbolic difference if he had less than 50% of the vote. And you can't imagine how depressed and disappointed I am. There'd be no way I could possibly describe it to you. After all that
right.
Not just for me, but for all the people that work for me, for all the police officers who died, all the firefighters who died, not just in 9/11, but in building and taking a city that had 2,000 murders a year and taking it down to 600. How many police officers I lost doing that? 50. I went to the funeral of every single one of them. I remember most of them. And for this guy to be attacking them, I mean, I'd like to get him and beat the shit out of him. I think I could. I'm 81. He's, 32 or whatever the hell he is, but he looks like a little scrawny shit. And his father hates America. He hates America. What the hell? Please, to my fellow citizens of New York, what the hell is wrong with you? I say that to Chicago, to 65 years of Democratic mayors. And all that happens is black people get killed like crazy every weekend. What's wrong? What is it? Is it brainwashing? It's very, very depressing to see this.
So now
Now, I have to tell you, on the other side of it, this comes pretty close to assuring a Republican Congress next year. This guy, Zoran Mondami, will be our principal opponent in every place in America where we have Americans. And that's most of America. I know how to do this. We did it in 2010 against Pelosi and won the Congress by one of the biggest margins ever. You think people in Oklahoma are going to understand this piece of crap?
It's quite a result here. 80% reporting Mamdani at 50.6%, Cuomo at 41.2%, Sliwa at 7.4%, and that's with 80% reporting.
Can we take a look for a second so I can relax at Virginia?
Sure.
And New Jersey?
Yes, we will soon.
Yeah, I'll clean my mouth.
Yeah.
He makes signals to me.
So again, these are numbers in New York. Let's switch over to this is the Attorney General's race in Virginia.
Oh my God, is he going to win? Oh my God.
It does look like Jay Jones with 83%. Jay Jones is up 51.6% to 48% with 83% of the vote in.
Okay. So you want murderers. Okay, good.
So you'll want to stick around. The mayor, we will be on Newsmax multiple times next hour.
What are we going to do?
We're going to be on with Greg Kelly and Lydia.
What are we going to just cry?
Yeah, at the top of the hour. And then again on Newsmax 2 at the bottom of the hour, 10:30 with Ed Henry.
Can we see New Jersey before we do all that Newsmax stuff?
Right. And so in New Jersey, Mikey Sherrill has been declared the winner.
Has been
declared the winner.
Man.
Defeating Jack Ciarelli.
Now, for somebody who cheated in the Naval Academy, this is a hell of a thing. This woman cheated on her exams in the Naval Academy. She hit her records. She didn't graduate for 3/4 of a year because she was penalized. But you won't let people of New Jersey know that. So this is a well-established cheat and liar from the day she walked out of the Naval Academy. And she's going to be the governor of New Jersey. And she's going to take over from what I thought 2 years ago was the worst governor in America, Murphy. So this is going to be a real contest. Who loses more people, New Jersey or New York? You think they bet on things like that?
Good to see it.
What?
Nowadays, bet on everything, Mayor.
What do you think
There's
the
a
odds
bet
are?
on everything
Well, so
now.
who do you think wins? Let's do it per capita because New York is much bigger than New Jersey. So per capita, who do you think loses more people over the next 12 months? New York or New Jersey?
New York City.
Because he's a communist.
Yeah. I mean, multiple factors. Yeah. I mean,
But New Jersey is beating us.
Mamdani
I have
is a
to tell you,
different level of.
If you and I go back and we look at the last 5 or 6 years, New Jersey has more often lost more people even than New York because of Murphy. Murphy was a completely awful governor. I mean, remember when he ran for re-election the last time against Citarelli, we named him the worst governor in America. I mean, ridiculous. And even the killing of the old people, he did much more deliberately than Cuomo did. He was warned about it. Cuomo, we're not sure whether Cuomo was warned, but he killed the old people anyway because he wanted the money from the nursing home industry. And that's the reason why Cuomo's at 41 or 42%. I don't think no matter what happened, God or anything, he would ever get above that. Cuomo had a ceiling. He had a ceiling of people that couldn't compromise their conscience enough to vote for that guy. Like me. And like Kara. And like a lot of people. Including a lot of Democrats. They just couldn't vote for him. We know him. We know him since he was a kid, Cuomo or the homo. That's why he went down. He's not.
No, well, explain that.
He's not.
Right?
Well, in the campaign between Ed Koch and his father, there was a thing that went around.
Mario Cuomo
and Ed Koch. There was a thing that started, which was, do you want Cuomo or the homo? Koch being allegedly the homo. Koch won the election, but never forgave Andrew because he believed that Andrew was the one who came up with that. Andrew, of course, has denied it. Now, I don't know who's telling the truth. You can tell I have a suspicion. And Koch despised him. Completely despised him. And you wonder why did, after the president supported Cuomo, why didn't I do it? I just couldn't. My conscience would not allow me to support him. I can only go so far when I know things about people. And the man should not be in public office any more than Zandami, Vandami, Pandami, communist jerk-off.
With 83% of the vote in New York City, Mamdani at 50.5%.
I wish he would get below 50.
Yeah, so let's bring these
Where are
numbers
we?
back
85%?
up. 83% reporting.
It's very unlikely. Well, no, it's not unlikely. It's still only 0.5%. If we could.
So 50.5% for Mamdani, 41.3% for Cuomo, and Sliwa at 7.3%. So even with Cuomo and Sliwa combined, they would still fall short by a few points of Mamdani as of now. This is with 83% reporting.
Yeah, well, you're getting pretty much near the end there, and a majority victory for him is very dangerous. This is exactly what the Democrat Socialists of America put a lot of money into, to getting him a majority victory.
Right.
Because the Democratic Socialists of America wanted a mandate. And the absolutely idiotic people of my former city are going to give it to them if they get them over 50%. I know it's kind of like, what's the difference between 49.8 and 50.2? Symbolically, there's a very big difference. Absolutely big difference. And I have to say, the Democrat Socialists of America understood that. And they put a tremendous amount of money to get him over 50%. And tragically, it looks like they've succeeded with the gullible, brainwashed citizens of my former city. Now, that's the bad news. The good news is this will destroy the Republican Party in about 3/4 of America.
Democrat.
the Democratic Party, yeah, in 3/4 of America. And but the most important thing is it's terrible for America to have a socialist, communist, Islamic extremist supporter in charge of our most important city that was victimized by Islamic terrorists and forgets it. I mean, it's like it was an ambiguous, who knows what group of people actually attacked us. Maybe it was Mars. Maybe it was George Bush. Maybe it was the CIA. No, it was 19 people, 15 of whom were Saudi Arabians, all of whom were dedicated to Muslim extremism, all of whom were carrying out the dictate of their founder, Muhammad, which was to destroy Christians and Jews. I knew at the moment it happened. So did Bernie Kerik. Largely because I've studied the Muslim religion in a lot more detail than most people have. Read the Quran 3 times. I can go find you in the Quran every single thing that they've done with the support and the dictate of Muhammad. Muhammad, first half of his life, okay. Second half of his life, he was a mass murderer and a pervert. And Muslims believe we should follow the example of Muhammad. And we are afraid to explain to people how that is probably the biggest problem in our modern world, that we're not gutsy enough to explain what that means and why it has created the problem in Africa. So you look at all those wars in Africa, people think they're like just civil wars. Mm-mm. I don't know of a civil war in Africa. They're all Muslims killing Christians. That's what they're all Muslims killing Christians, and Africans were converted to being Muslims by conquest and torture. Go back to their ancestors. They didn't want to be Muslims. The Muslim armies came in, tortured them, and made them Muslims. And now they're trying to destroy the Christian and non-Muslims part of Africa. And thank God the president recognized that in Nigeria, which is the biggest example of it, but not the only.
Well, Mayor, the Associated Press has now called the race.
They should have. Yeah.
Democrat socialist Zoran Mamdani will be elected, has been elected, the next mayor
so I beat
of
them.
New York City. That you did, yes.
They beat them in calling it. I mean, I didn't want to, but
that's right.
It's quite obvious. It was quite obvious a half hour ago that he was going to win.
Right.
It's just hard for me to say it.
Right. It's so Mamdani will
and now the real question is, does the 50% hold?
Right.
And it has a teeny bit more significance than you think.
Right. So, and we just got a couple minutes left. Head on over to Newsmax at the top of the hour. The mayor will be leading off their 10 p.m. coverage with Greg Kelly and the great Lydia Karanai.
The great Greg Kelly, too.
Yes, Greg Kelly.
His father was the longest serving police commissioner in the history of New York City. And his father protected our city magnificently in the years after 9/11.
Right.
I have unbelievable respect for Ray Kelly. He was one of the greatest police commissioners. He wasn't mine, but he's one of the greatest police commissioners in New York City history.
Absolutely.
He kept our city safe, but he wasn't a Muslim extremist.
So before we sign,
far from it.
Right, that's right, Mayor. So before we sign off now, with 85% of the vote in, Mamdani, who's been declared the winner, is currently at 50.5%.
Okay, want me to give a conclusion to it?
Give us a conclusion. Okay. We got 5 minutes.
Conclusion to it, this is a terrible day, terrible time for New York City. This is an unbelievable opportunity for the Republican Party. And you take this guy and you run him all over America, we become a clear majority party. Americans in Michigan, Americans in Iowa, Americans in Texas, Americans in Utah, you pick the place. They're going to reject this communist, Islamic extremist as an example of how terrible the Democrat Party has become, which I've been telling you for 5 or 6 years. The party has to stop. It has to dissolve. They need a new political party. Now, you look at how terrible they are now. That's the way they began. They were the party of slavery. For most of their existence, they were the party of slavery. They caused a civil war. Why people want to hang on to this horrible political party, I do not understand. It had a couple of good moments, but for most of its history, it's been on the wrong side of history. And if they're doing away with statues and about slavery and everything, there's not a single institution in America that supported slavery more than the Democrat Party. You want to take down a statue of, I don't know, Thomas Jefferson for having slaves? Gosh, he had a couple of slaves. Democrat Party helped to create slavery. It defended slavery. It went to war over slavery. 600,000 Americans were killed over it because of the Democrat Party. And we're not going to change the name? It's about time to get rid of that political party. I want a liberal party that, I don't know, wants to waste money, and we can fight with them.
That's right, Mayor. So now we want folks to head on over to Newsmax for Greg Kelly and Lydia.
Are we going to close out now?
Yes, we got to close out.
I really tonight, I always ask you to pray for Israel. I always ask you to pray for Ukraine. And I always ask you to pray for Iran, that I believe within the next year will be liberated from the reign of terror. But tonight, I'm going to ask you to pray for America. After the horrible, horrible results in my city, which I'm so embarrassed of, I'm not going to make a personal appeal. It breaks my heart to see what my city just did. But I also see the opportunities that it gives us to change the rest of America. So maybe in a strange, ridiculous, horrible way, they've helped us. I don't know. I can't believe the rest of America is going to embrace this. Going to embrace this Islamic extremist who is a communist, hates our country, hates our people, wants to exterminate the Jewish people. You know that's in his heart. You know that. Let's run against them all over America and see what happens. That's the best we can do out of this, right? So pray for America and pray for our president, because he's been doing a great job. He really has. But gosh, I'm so worried about him. I worry about his strength being diminished, and it's probably not going to happen, but just pray for him, okay? And pray for our ultimate victory over communism, which rejects you. So let's all say it together. God bless America.
God bless America.
It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze,